Hello, welcome to week 2 of our 8-week series where we're unpacking the key concepts that I want to discuss in these foundational coaching weeks with you. This topic is so important. Today we're talking about intentional nourishment versus intuitive eating. Not that I'm against intuitive eating, but what's the difference? And just unpacking the nutrition aspects of our coaching philosophy, my coaching philosophy with this coaching program, and the importance of sleep. So 2 different things, but both super important aspects of our practices and our perceptions that influence our physiology. So perceptions are like our brain and how we have relationships with food, our relationship with our body, our relationship with exercise, our relationship with ourself. So perceptions are key things we work on in these first couple weeks together and forever. And then we have practices, which are going to be the habits. And nutrition is both. There's so many things that go into why we make the food choices we do. And this experience together is not where I tell you what to eat. I'm teaching you and showing you and providing hopefully some structure, but a lot of guidance here. And so intentional nourishment is one of the most foundational aspects of this coaching practice. And it takes these 3 things into consideration: body, brain, and feelings. So for your body, we ask, what does my body need? So we talk about adequate calories, we talk about adequate protein, we talk about fiber and how not to overdo it, right? And then we have our brain. So what meals do you enjoy that bring you energy and satisfaction? And then lastly, we have feelings. So preparing meals that excite you, that you look forward to, and that bring you joy. So we really want to have a fusion of all 3 of these things. And that is finding balance between your hunger cues instead of ignoring them, listening to our cravings instead of ignoring them, honoring our feelings, and keeping in mind the knowledge that we have. So it's finding a balance between those things, which is a lot. It's totally different than most traditional fitness and diet plans, and I get that. So listening to our bodies is huge, and listening to our feelings are a really important part of mental health and healing. But my concerns with intuitive eating is, what if your hunger and fullness cues are off? A lot of my clients in the beginning don't always wake up hungry, and eating within the first 60 minutes of waking is an important habit for most of us. And typically we eat like little meals in the morning, and we likely need to increase the size of our breakfast, which will help us feel more satiated and full throughout the day and less likely to like overeat or binge at night. And so that is part of intentional nourishment. Or also, we just don't really have sufficient appetites, and that could be because we're stressed out throughout the day, we're anxious, or we're busy and we just forget to eat. So this is where we take intentional nourishment further than intuitive eating, because while we might not be hungry or we might not have an appetite, this is likely in response to chronic stress and potentially metabolic downregulation, and we should focus on the mechanical side of eating, and that would be setting the timer so you don't forget to eat if you're really busy at work. As silly as that might sound, like, you do not exist on thin air, and we have to make time to eat. Yes. So what if you're sick? Still need to eat. What if you're stressed out? You need to eat. What if you're just not feeling hungry and you haven't eaten all day? Your cells still need nourishment. So we need to find something that's satisfying. And maybe that's just like an adrenal elixir, which I'm drinking here, something light on the tummy. I get that. And the other thing is, like, what if we've never been taught to listen and trust our intuition? A lot of this coaching process is quite foreign. I mentioned that already. And so what if we've never listened and honored to our biofeedback before? We've never paid attention to our poops or our digestion or our recovery after our workouts. We've just like shown up and got it done, even if we weren't really feeling it. You know, what happens in times of weakness or in doubt? Because those are like deception, like I said in week 1. What happens when we're feeling those feels? If we're just in intuitive eating, the likelihood of falling back into potential old habits is there. And we don't really want to reach out for a quick fix or do a knee-jerk, can you see me? A knee-jerk reaction when we see the scale go up or we have a bad body image day and stuff like that, we really want to make sure that we're practicing something higher than just following intuition, since we have to learn how to trust our bodies and brains again, and we have to find balance again. So practicing nourishment with intention is a fusion of body, brain, and feelings. It's creating and maintaining a balance amongst your knowledge, your hunger cues, your feelings, and your cravings. It's not an easy process, but I believe in you. Moving on to the most underrated factor in reaching your fitness goals is sleep. Sleep, correct. So lack of sleep makes it very significantly more difficult to adhere to any sort of diet or fitness plan. So when you are lacking that amount of sleep, you can have an increased loss of lean muscle mass, increased blood cortisol levels, decreased protein synthesis and testosterone levels, and this can really impact so much more than just the superficial aspects. When we have insufficient sleep, we have just our quality of life goes down, right? We likely have a hard time making cognitive decisions. We might be more susceptible to mood swings, and that is what makes getting healthy hard, when we just wake up already not feeling our best. And so it doesn't really matter so much if we're so driven to just make aesthetic changes, but if you are driven to have a body composition change, meaning more muscle and less fat, prioritizing sleep is one of the key foundations here. But in overall mental health and all physical well-being, sleep is so important and underrated in general. And so we talk a lot about in this coaching program how to improve our sleeping habits, and actually that has a lot to do with your habits throughout the day. So what you do in the day can really make or break your sleep at night. So sometimes you might be like, oh, I just need to take some melatonin, which we don't supplement with melatonin, and we'll talk more about that later. But sometimes we just don't want to have to rely on a supplement. We want to just address our patterns, and perhaps that could be you need to get sunlight in the morning. It's like morning light exposure can be really helpful. And maybe reduce your screen time at night, or get some blue blocker lenses to protect your eyes some. But likely we are not getting as much sunlight as possible, so exposing ourselves to morning sunlight, making sure that we're eating enough throughout the day, making sure that your meal timing is pretty consistent every 3 to 4 hours, not going too long without food, because we want to make sure we have balanced blood sugar. So there's just a lot of variables that can be varying depending on who's watching this right now, but those are just some examples of some key habits. And again, those are going to be our practices that really influence our sleep quality. So we're looking at restfulness, we're looking at your heart rate variability, we're looking at how many times do you wake up to pee, or can you go back to sleep when you get up to pee. There's a lot of things we're looking at in sleep, and we're also looking for obviously the duration. We want 7 hours or more. So 7 hours minimum is the ideal goal. And so that, I think, really kicks off what I wanted to really just hit home with the importance of sleep when it comes to mental health and decision making. So you'll be a better person at work, you'll be a better spouse, it'll be better just to be in you. If you get quality sleep, you'll have better performance, you'll have better recovery in your workouts, and it'll be easier to stick to your dietary regimen if we are ever going to go into a fat loss phase. A lot of my clients come to me and we're strictly just working on intentionally nourishing ourselves, eating enough food, working on relationship with the food in general, working on relationship with our body, and working on our relationship with exercise before we would ever go on a diet. There's so much unlearning to relearn that has to happen, which is why I'm creating these videos. So thank you so much for taking the time to watch this one. This one was a little longer, I get that. And I'm looking forward to seeing you next week.